Welcome to the How-To Factory, the channel where we reveal how some of your favorite foods and condiments are made. Oyster sauce, thick, savory, and packed with umami, is a staple in Asian cuisine. It's the secret ingredient behind the deep, rich flavors of stir-fries, marinades, and dipping sauces. Whether drizzled over vegetables, glazed onto meats, or mixed into noodles, oyster sauce adds a depth of flavor that's difficult to replace. But have you ever wondered how this dark, glossy sauce is made? Today, we're taking you inside the factory to see how oyster sauce is produced on a massive scale. While oyster sauce is now a global pantry essential, it was actually created by accident. In 1888, a Guangdong-based chef named Lee Kum Sheung was making oyster soup when he forgot about the pot on the stove. The oysters simmered for hours, reducing into a thick, caramelized sauce. When he tasted it, he realized he had stumbled upon something incredible. That mistake led to the birth of oyster sauce, and today, Lee Kum Kee remains one of the most well-known brands producing it worldwide. By the way, if you enjoy learning how everyday foods are made, consider subscribing to the channel. We post videos just like this every week, and your support helps us a lot. Now, let's step inside an oyster sauce factory and see how it's made. The process begins with fresh oysters from coastal waters in regions like China, Thailand, and Vietnam. These oysters are carefully inspected for quality before being cleaned and sorted. In some factories, the oysters are shucked by hand, while machines remove them from their shells in larger-scale operations. The oyster meat is then washed thoroughly to remove any sand or debris. Next comes the extraction process. The cleaned oysters are placed into large stainless steel vats filled with water and slowly simmered at a controlled temperature. This simmering process allows the oysters to release their natural juices, rich in briny, umami-packed flavors. Depending on the factory, the cooking time can last several hours to extract as much flavor as possible. The result is a concentrated oyster broth, which forms the base of the sauce. Once the oyster broth is ready, it's filtered to remove any solid particles, leaving a smooth, flavorful liquid behind. From here, the sauce begins to take shape with the addition of key ingredients. Traditional oyster sauce was made solely from oyster extract, but modern production methods often include other components like sugar, salt, cornstarch, and soy sauce to create a balanced, thick consistency. Some brands also add caramelized sugar to enhance the deep brown color and introduce a touch of sweetness. The mixture is heated and simmered further to achieve the signature thickness of oyster sauce, reducing it into a smooth, velvety texture. Factories carefully control the temperature and time to prevent burning while ensuring the sauce reaches the perfect consistency. After the sauce has thickened, it undergoes rigorous quality checks. Technicians test the sauce for color, aroma, consistency, and taste to ensure it meets brand standards. Some premium oyster sauces go through additional filtering and refining processes to achieve an even smoother texture. Once approved, the sauce is sent to the bottling stage. It's poured into glass or plastic bottles sealed to lock in freshness and labeled with brand packaging. The bottles are then packed into boxes and shipped worldwide, ready to enhance countless dishes with its deep, savory flavor. So, the next time you enjoy a perfectly balanced stir-fry or a delicious plate of lo mein, you'll know that the rich umami taste likely comes from carefully brewed oyster sauce. What started as a happy accident has become an essential ingredient in kitchens across the globe, proving that sometimes the best discoveries happen accidentally. Fish sauce, salty, savory, and packed with umami, is a cornerstone of Southeast Asian cuisine. It's the magic behind the deep, rich flavors of dishes like Thai pad Thai, Vietnamese pho, and Filipino adobo, used in marinades, dipping sauces, stir-fries, and even as a secret ingredient in Western cooking. Fish sauce brings a unique depth of flavor that's difficult to replicate. But have you ever wondered how this ancient condiment is made on a large scale? Today, we're stepping inside a fish sauce factory to see the fascinating process behind this liquid gold. Fish sauce has been around for thousands of years, dating back to ancient Rome, where a similar fermented fish condiment called garum was widely used. But in Southeast Asia, fish sauce evolved into the version we know today, made primarily from anchovies or other small fish, combined with salt and left to ferment for months or even years. The result is an intensely savory, pungent liquid that forms the backbone of many traditional dishes. By the way, if you enjoy learning how everyday foods are made, consider subscribing to the channel. We post videos just like this every week, and your support helps us a lot. Now let's take a look inside a fish sauce factory. The process starts with freshly caught anchovies or other small fish like mackerel or sardines. In major production hubs like Vietnam and Thailand, fishermen bring their daily catch, which is immediately inspected for quality. Freshness is key. Only high-quality fish produce the best fish sauce. Once approved, the fish are cleaned and prepared for fermentation. The fish are then layered with salt in massive fermentation vats, usually made of concrete, wood, or traditional clay pots. The ideal ratio is around 3 parts fish to 1 part salt. This mixture is left to ferment naturally, with the salt drawing out moisture and breaking down the fish over time. The fish's natural enzymes and beneficial bacteria trigger fermentation, creating the rich, deep, umami flavors that define fish sauce. The fermentation process can last anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depending on the desired flavor and quality. Factories control the process by adjusting the temperature and humidity, ensuring optimal conditions for fermentation. As time passes, the fish gradually break down, and a golden brown liquid begins to collect at the bottom of the vats. Once the fermentation is complete, the liquid is carefully extracted. The first press, similar to extra virgin olive oil, is the highest quality, with a deep, complex flavor. Some manufacturers refine the sauce by filtering it to remove any remaining solids, while others bottle it straight from the vats for a more traditional taste. Lower quality fish sauce may undergo additional processing, including dilution and the addition of sweeteners or preservatives. After extraction, the fish sauce undergoes rigorous quality checks. Technicians test for salinity, aroma, color, and taste to ensure consistency. Once it meets the required standards, the sauce is bottled and labeled, ready to be shipped to markets worldwide. So, the next time you add a splash of fish sauce to your dish, remember that it's the result of a centuries-old process of fermentation, patience, and craftsmanship. From ancient Roman kitchens to modern Southeast Asian factories, fish sauce has remained a culinary staple, bringing rich umami flavor to dishes worldwide. Worcestershire sauce. You've probably seen the bottle sitting in the condiment aisle, its label boasting a secret blend of ingredients. Maybe you've added a few drops to a marinade or stirred it into a Bloody Mary. But have you ever wondered how this complex umami-packed sauce is actually made? Let's take you inside a Worcestershire sauce factory to see exactly how this iconic sauce comes to life. The origins of Worcestershire sauce go all the way back to the early 19th century in England. The story goes that a nobleman returning from Bengal commissioned 2 chemists, John Leah and William Perrins, to recreate a flavorful sauce he had enjoyed abroad. They mixed a variety of ingredients: vinegar, molasses, tamarind, anchovies, garlic, and spices, only to find that the result was far too strong and unpleasant. Disappointed, they abandoned the batch in a barrel and left it to sit. But here's where things get interesting. When they rediscovered the sauce months later, something had changed. The harsh flavors had mellowed, blending into a rich, deeply savory sauce with a perfect balance of sweet, tangy, and umami notes. And just like that, Worcestershire sauce was born. Fast forward to today, the process of making Worcestershire sauce has evolved, but the core ingredients remain the same: it all starts with vinegar, the foundation of the sauce. Large vats are filled with malt vinegar and spirit vinegar, which give Worcestershire sauce its signature tang. Next comes molasses, which adds a deep caramel-like sweetness. Then, tamarind is added, an exotic fruit pulp that contributes a unique tartness. Crushed anchovies are also included, providing a layer of umami that gives Worcestershire sauce its distinct depth. Garlic, onions, and a blend of spices like cloves, chili pepper, and salt are all carefully measured and added to the mix. Once all the ingredients are combined, they're left to ferment and mature for several months, sometimes even years. This aging process is what allows the flavors to develop, creating the bold, well-rounded taste Worcestershire sauce is known for. The longer it sits, the more complex and refined it becomes. When the sauce is ready, it's strained and filtered to remove any solid bits, leaving behind a smooth, dark, and glossy liquid. Each batch is carefully tested for quality before it's bottled and shipped to stores worldwide. But what makes Worcestershire sauce so unique? Its versatility. It's a key ingredient in everything from steak marinades to salad dressings, soups, and stir-fries. It's the secret behind the deep, savory flavor of a proper Caesar salad dressing, and it gives Bloody Mary cocktails their signature kick. In barbecue sauces, meatloaf, or even a simple grilled cheese, Worcestershire sauce enhances flavors like no other. From a forgotten experiment in a small English chemist's shop to a pantry staple found in kitchens across the globe, Worcestershire sauce has stood the test of time. So the next time you reach for that little brown bottle, remember, you're not just adding a condiment. You're adding nearly 200 years of history and craftsmanship to your meal. If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating factory tours. Coconut Aminos. You've probably seen it on grocery store shelves, often labeled as a healthier alternative to soy sauce. It's slightly sweet, deeply savory, and packed with umami flavor. But how exactly is this unique sauce made, and where did it come from? Let's take a deep dive into the fascinating process of making coconut aminos in a modern factory. Unlike many condiments, coconut aminos doesn't have a long, ancient history. It was developed in recent decades as a soy-free alternative for people with dietary restrictions or those following paleo and gluten-free diets. Despite the name, coconut aminos doesn't actually taste like coconut. Instead, it offers a complex, salty-sweet flavor that makes it perfect for stir-fries, marinades, and salad dressings. So, how is this flavorful sauce made? It all starts with coconut sap, a nutrient-rich liquid harvested from the young flowers of coconut trees. Skilled farmers climb the trees and carefully tap the blossoms, allowing the sap to drip into collection containers. This sap is naturally sweet and loaded with minerals, making it the perfect base for fermentation. Once collected, the fresh coconut sap is transported to the factory, where it undergoes a slow fermentation process. This is the key step in transforming the sap into coconut aminos. Over several weeks, the natural sugars in the sap begin to break down, developing a deep, umami-rich taste. To balance the flavor, a touch of sea salt is added. Unlike soy sauce, which relies on soybeans and wheat for its taste, coconut aminos achieves its salty complexity purely from this natural combination of fermented sap and mineral-rich salt. The exact salt content varies by brand, but it's typically much lower than traditional soy sauce, one of the reasons coconut aminos is popular among health-conscious consumers. Once the fermentation is complete, the mixture is carefully strained and filtered to remove any impurities, ensuring a smooth, glossy liquid. The finished product is then tested for quality and consistency before being bottled and packaged for distribution. Coconut aminos has quickly become a go-to ingredient for people looking to add a rich, savory depth to their meals without using soy. It's perfect for seasoning stir-fries, glazing meats, and enhancing salad dressings. It's also a great alternative in sushi dipping sauces, bringing a hint of sweetness that pairs beautifully with fresh fish. Whether you're cooking up a plant-based dish or marinating a juicy steak, coconut aminos delivers that umami punch without the gluten, soy, or high-sodium content of traditional sauces. From a simple tree sap to a flavorful, nutritious alternative to soy sauce, coconut aminos is proof that sometimes the best ingredients come straight from nature. So the next time you drizzle it over your favorite dish, remember, you're not just adding flavor. You're enjoying a carefully crafted sauce made from one of the world's most versatile trees. If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more factory-made insights. Have a favorite food you'd like us to explore? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching the How-To Factory.
Think about the sugar you put in your coffee or the sweetness in your favorite dessert. Have you ever wondered where it comes from? Be it your classic cane sugar, earthy beet sugar, or even healthy alternatives like stevia and monk fruit, each of them has its own unique and fascinating origins. From the fields to your table, today we'll talk about how the different kinds of sugar are made. Even though we all crave sweetness, very few of us stop and wonder where it even comes from. How does it go from a towering cane or a humble root in the ground to taking the form of crystals in our pantry? And what about sugar alternatives like stevia? How do they compare? Stick around as we dive deep and explore the interesting process behind how these sugars and their healthy substitutes are manufactured. By the end of this video, you might have a newfound admiration for an everyday staple ingredient in your household. Let's get started with the healthier alternatives to sugar. Starting with stevia, an immensely popular zero-calorie sugar substitute. It is extracted from a plant called Stevia rebaudiana. This plant is grown mainly in subtropical climates in countries like China and South America. When dried, the leaves of this plant are 30 times sweeter than any regular sugar. This sweetness is derived from a substance found in the leaves called steviol glycosides. The stevia extraction process starts with the leaves being soaked in hot water, similar to how tea is brewed but on a larger scale. The leaves are then separated from the water, which is purified in several steps. This purified water undergoes an ion exchange chromatograph, where it goes through a special tube that acts as a sieve to separate the steviol glycosides from the water. Following this, the sweet compounds in the sieve are collected and rinsed with pure alcohol. This process removes the steviol glycosides, but with the alcohol in it. Therefore, the liquid is then boiled down to remove the alcohol, which leaves behind a sweet syrup. The last step is the refining process, wherein the steviol glycosides are separated through the method of repeated recrystallization. The syrup left behind after the alcohol contents are removed is then transferred into a tube, where it slowly cools down and is transformed into sugar crystals. There are two types of stevia extracts. Liquid extract. This is derived from syrup produced after the distillation process. However, the syrup is further boiled down till the proper thickness or concentration levels have been achieved. This dark stevia concentrate is a thick brown liquid that acts as a great alternative to brown sugar and molasses. Powdered extract. A powdered extract is the most widely used form of stevia all around the world. This extract is created when the crystallized version of stevia is ground down into a fine powder, which is then produced and packaged in bulk. Next, we're going to talk about another zero-calorie sugar alternative, monk fruit sweeteners. Valued for centuries in traditional Chinese medicine for being a common cure for colds and digestive issues, monk fruits are now popular for natural sweeteners that don't have any calories and are great for those looking to cut out sugar. The sweetness of a monk fruit is derived from compounds called mogrosides. These are about 150 to 250 times sweeter than sugar, but without all the calories. making it a perfect option for diabetics. Monk fruit is cultivated mainly in southern China and northern Thailand. These fruits are harvested once they reach their full ripeness. This ensures maximum sweetness. After harvesting, these fruits are left to dry in order to preserve their natural magrosides. The dried monk fruit is then crushed to release all the juice. This juice contains magrosides and natural sugars like fructose and glucose. The extracted juice goes through a filtration process, removing components like pulp, fiber, and all the natural sugars, leaving behind just the magrosides. After filtration, we are left with a sweet juice extract, which can then be dried to create a powder. Similar to stevia, monk fruit sweeteners are also found in two types. Pure monk fruit extract. This contains just magrosides. There are no added substances to this sweetener. It is highly concentrated, hence it is used in small amounts. Blended sweeteners. Monk fruit powder is often mixed with erythritol or allulose to imitate the texture and volume of sugar. These are mainly used for baking purposes or added to beverages. While these are a great sugar alternative, they are on the pricier side when compared to stevia or even sucralose. This is mainly because monk fruit sweeteners have a complex extraction process and limited growing regions. Moreover, they are not as readily available at grocery stores as other sugar alternatives. Sugar doesn't only come from sugar cane. It can also be derived from sugar beets, which are grown and harvested in colder environments in countries like Russia, the United States, and some parts of Europe. The harvesting process begins in autumn and early winter when the beets are dug up from the ground. They are then transported to the factory. Unlike sugar canes, beets come from the ground, therefore, they need to be thoroughly washed and separated from beet leaves, stones, or any other unwanted material before the processing starts. After cleaning, the beets are then sliced into thin chips called cassettes. These cassettes go through a diffusion method to extract sugar. They are soaked in hot water for roughly an hour. The diffuser then separates the cassettes from the water. This water then becomes the juice that the beet sugar will be made out of. The separated cassettes still contain some of that juice. Therefore, they are pressed using screw presses to squeeze as much juice out of them as possible. After extracting the maximum amount of juice, it is then purified to be used for sugar production. To purify the juice, the process of carbonatation is applied, where small clumps of chalk are grown in the juice. These clips are used to collect any non-sugars in the juice, and when the chalk is filtered out, the non-sugar contents are removed. The filtered out juice is then steamed in a multi-stage evaporator, creating a syrup. Like the cane sugar process, this sugar is further boiled until it reaches the perfect conditions for sugar crystals to form. They are then spun in a centrifuge and dried before being packed and ready to be dispatched. Lastly, let's talk about the classic sugar, something you'll commonly find in every pantry. Did you know in the year 2023 to 24, about 177 million metric tons of sugar were consumed globally, making it the most frequently used type of sugar? When we were kids, we were told that sugar comes from sugarcane. But where does sugarcane come from? They are grown and harvested in countries like Brazil, Colombia, and the Philippines all year round. Farmers used long machetes to harvest crops back in the day. But now, thanks to technological advancements, mechanical harvesting is the preferred choice. These harvested sugar canes are quickly transported to the factory so the natural sugars don't degrade, and there is a higher sugar yield. They are then carried onto a moving table that cuts the sugarcane to expose the tissue and open the cell structure, resulting in an efficient juice extraction. After this, the juice is then purified using heat and lime. They are used to kill any enzymes that may be found in the juice. It also helps control the pH levels, allowing the sucrose, glucose, and fructose in the juice to be separated easily. Moreover, during this process, any dirt or unwanted material found in the juice is filtered out using the flocculation method. After the purification process, the juice is poured into a multi-step evaporator, which is boiled down to create a concentrated syrup. The juice starts off with 10 to 15% sucrose, and by the time the syrup is made, the sucrose levels reach 55 to 59%. The concentrated syrup is further evaporated to create sugar crystals. These sugar crystals are separated using a centrifuge, which produces raw sugar. However, this isn't the raw sugar available in the grocery stores. At this stage, certain impurities still need to be filtered out and become the various types of sugars that we consume. While the core manufacturing process for all sugar is the same, the various crystallization methods for each type of sugar separate them from one another. Granulated sugar. When all the molasses content is removed from the sugar crystals, it creates granulated sugar. The removal of molasses is what gives it a white color. This type of sugar is most commonly used daily. Brown sugar. This type retains most of its natural molasses contents, giving it that dark color. Powdered sugar. Used mainly for baking, this fluffy and light sugar is just granulated sugar ground down. That's all we have for you today, so the next time you're enjoying a sweet treat, consider the journey it took for it to end up on your plate. Let us know in the comments down below what your go-to sweetener is. Are you the traditional sugar type of person? Or do you dive into the alternatives? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel for deeper dives into the foods you love.